Big Apple, 3 a.m. Words often heard by my friends in Brooklyn who are looking for a dispensary, but also at the beginning of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time, one of the most classic games of the Super Nintendo era. Which is probably why us Ninja Turtle fans jumped right out of our shells when we heard that this game was getting a spiritual successor. Not a true successor, it wasn't made by the folks at Konami, it was made by the people at Dotemu and Tribute Games. But it was exciting nonetheless. Now, unfortunately, I haven't played Shredder's Revenge myself because I'm an adult, and that means it's very, very hard to get people together to do stuff. I've played a few minutes of it, but playing stuff by yourself, a beat 'em up, I should say, that's really no way to play a beat 'em up game. You really need to play it with friends, and I am trying to get friends together, order some pizzas, have a fun Friday night in Manhattan, playing Shredder's Revenge together, because that's the way you play it. So I haven't played the game, but from what I heard from people who have played it, it is everything that we've expected. It's brought back all the turtles in stellar form, and it's just a classic on par with that original Turtles in Time release. Now, the physical version of the game was handled by Limited Run Games, which I do know has its detractors. Personally, I like the company more than I dislike it. I find them to be very helpful when I'm having an issue, like I didn't get my game on time when it says it's delivered. Their support staff has been pretty helpful. You have to wait months for the games, but I mean, you're getting games that wouldn't be physical otherwise, so, you can only complain so much is what I think. So I do like them more than not. The only exception I can think of as far as complaints with them is Sea of Stars, because holy crap, the stuff that I had to go through to get Sea of Stars. But I do have it. It is the early backer limited edition, as you can see. Now, to be fair, this release was handled different from how Limited Run normally does it, because normally what you do is you go on their website, you place an order, you wait for the next equinox to pass, and then you get your game. Not the case here. So, I went on, this is the first game I ever did crowdfunding for, because this game looked awesome and I wanted to back it. So I did that, and then I patiently waited for about 2 years for it to come out. Then the game is ready, and neither Limited Run nor Sabotage Studios goes, "Hey, the game's getting shipped soon. Some of you might have moved in 2 years, because that's common. Or maybe you were captured as prisoners of war. Please update your address so we can send it to the prison you're being held at." So yeah, I was very excited for this game. Kept reaching out to both companies to get what I paid for. No success getting either one's help. But wait, you're saying, you've got your game, what's the big deal? Well, because I went all the way back to the city I used to live in to get the game. I went for other reasons. I wouldn't, spend money on a plane ticket to get a game that costs a fraction of that. That would be stupid. But, I figured while I was there, maybe I swing by my old building, see if the door code still works. And it did, thankfully. It'd be a lot easier than sneaking in with somebody else being like, "Oh, no, I'm not here to try to steal anything. I'm just here to settle a score with somebody who lives here." What does all this have to do with Ninja Turtles? Well, it's industry practice that when a physical version of a game releases, it comes with all the downloadable content on it. So I go through hell just to get my complete physical copy of Sea of Stars. Then the studio announces some Jimi Hendrix All Along the Watchtower bullshit DLC or something like that. What the fuck? The only other time I could think of Limited Run doing that is with Shredder's Revenge, because the game was announced and later we learned that they would be the ones printing the physical version, which was a bit weird because this isn't some indie property, the Ninja Turtles, like it was a worldwide phenomenon. So that's weird. But in any case, we knew we'd be getting 6 characters. Obviously, we were getting all 4 turtles to play with, because if we didn't, the entire internet would have collectively said, "Yo, fuck this game." I mean, that's kind of what they did with the Nickelodeon All-Stars Brawl franchise. Like, they gave us 2 turtles, and it was just like, that's fucking weird. But, also, you kind of understood, because, all 4, if they put them all in, they would be the same. So it's, it's complicated. But this isn't that. This is a game where all 4 turtles, you needed them. And we got them, so good for that. Beyond that, they also let us throw down as the sensei, the mentor, the Yoda of the franchise, Master Splinter. Then we also got April, who I kind of don't love as a playable character because she has no fighting experience. She's usually the damsel in distress or the turtle's ambassador to the world beyond the sewers full of human feces. Then again, she's part of the main cast, so it's forgivable. Then, lastly, spoiler alert, but not really, once you beat the game, you get one more character to play, Casey Jones, a vigilante who spends his nights beating up punk kids who skateboard in front of no skateboarding signs, or something like that. So we got 7 characters, and all those 7 characters were very important to Turtles lore overall. I ordered my copy off Limited Run, eagerly waiting for it like Sea of Stars. Yeah, turns out I didn't need to do that, because the very same game was being sold on the shelves of Best Buy and other retailers, and their customers didn't have to wait. Nice heads up. On top of that, after we all bought the physical, they later announced a new version of the game with all new missions and 2 more playable characters. In hindsight, we should have seen this coming. The same people who made Shredder's Revenge also handled Streets of Rage 4, and that had a similar history with multiple physical releases and character additions. Luckily, this wasn't a game on my radar because that sounds kind of like a bunch of bull. There is probably a joke in there about consumers looking at their wallets and hitting the streets with rage, but I'm not going to make it. Who were these new Turtles characters? Well, one of them was someone us fans had been asking for, Usagi, a fan favorite despite being in only 2 episodes of the 1987 cartoon. The character was created by Stan Sakai for his own comic books, but Ninja Turtles was such a phenomenon that he tends to get linked to most iterations of the Turtles, probably even more than his own home property. Alongside the Rabbit Samurai, the other character they gave us was Karai, who, if you don't know, appears in some versions of the Ninja Turtles, like the 2003 cartoon, as the Shredder's adoptive daughter / top general. Although, she is often sympathetic to the Turtles' agenda and does fight alongside them sometimes, covertly helps them, that sort of thing. Now, normally I'm the type of nerd who would be bitching about Karai being included because she never appeared in the 87 cartoon that this game is being based off of. However, the theme of the DLC pack was basically a multiverse, alternate dimension thing, so it made sense to include that character because she reflected that, and so did Usagi. Being from his own comic book universe, Karai's from other Turtles lore, it made sense. So I'm glad that they included her in a way that makes sense for nerds like me to be okay with, and I do look forward to playing as her. That version got a physical edition too, but I didn't buy that because it took the total number of characters in the game from 7 to 9, and I thought, surely that can't be it. They've got to be planning something else, rounding things off with a 10th character, right? Well, I was kinda correct, because not only did they give us that 10th character, but they pulled the Spinal Tap and cranked it right up to 11. And, just like Spinal Tap, why? Why not cap it at 10? So I've got the Ultimate Edition here, and it's got all the characters on, and as you can see, the ones that they added, maybe you can't see because of the glare, oh there we go, these guys. And who the fuck are these guys? Like, really, who are these people? Who are these people? But really, who are they? Apparently, she's Mona Lisa, and he is Mondo Gecko. Now, I watched the show as a little kid, and I'm really too young to remember the show, so maybe it could just be me, but I don't remember these guys, at all. Do you people remember who these guys are? Because I don't. They look like they're from one of the multiple rip-offs of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, don't you think? Like, if I told you right now that they were from Biker Mice from Mars, you'd be like, yeah, I can see that. Like, you totally believe me. Like, in a weird way, I almost wish that I had bought the version of the game before this, the one that I didn't buy, because at least I have a fondness for every single character that's playable in that game. The perspective I'm coming at it from is, let's say you don't have this game. You only have one chance to play it, maybe a friend invites you to come over and play this game once. Okay, you go over there. are you picking these two characters? Out of all the options you've got, is there any way you're going with these two? Because if somebody calls dibs on your favorite turtle or other favorite character, because it's not these two, if somebody calls dibs on them, I'm fine with playing as Usagi, Casey Jones, Karai, but not some random reptiles that look like they're trying to save me 15% on car insurance. Like I said, this version marked itself as the ultimate one, which implies that there's not going to be any more updates after this, and that's weird because it's 11 characters. And if you were going to go past 10, why not make it an even dozen? It would make sense, wouldn't it? Because, again, up to 6 players can play, so you can get six of you together, you and 5 friends, play through the entire game together. Then you can play through the entire game again, pick 6 entirely different characters without reusing them. Wouldn't that be a great experience? Why not make it an even dozen? Heck, it wouldn't surprise me if these companies sold another version of the game beyond the so-called Ultimate Edition. So, Dotemu, Tribute Games, I'll make a deal with you. I'm about to name some characters. If you make one more version of this game and release it physically, including one of these characters that I'm about to name drop, I will, stupidly, pay for this game yet again. They should add a 12th character to the game, but not just any character, obviously. We don't want 2 more losers. They need to add somebody that we all love and are clamoring for. And who would that be? Well, I think I came up with a few answers that might fit the bill there. At least they would be more satisfying than Mona Lisa and Mondo Gecko. So who are my choices? Well, I think that having the base roster being grounded in the 1987 cartoon while having the DLC pull from alternate sources, I think that's the right way to go. So with my choices, I took the same approach, and the first candidate that I would like to put forth is Alopex. Some of you might not be familiar with Alopex because she's a newer character, and even though I'm not too familiar with her, I found her interesting ever since I was in Midtown Comics, flipping through the pages of a Turtles comic without paying for it. Alopex, I think, is an Arctic Fox mutant, and that story I mentioned involved Raphael finding her in the streets of New York, helping her until she double-crosses him. How is she different from the additional characters that I was complaining about? Well, because she's not just there to be there, and she has combat experience, and even fights with her own ninja weapons. Now remember, this game is supposed to be a love letter to the Turtles from the 90s, but while the cartoon show was the main source of enjoyment within the franchise for children everywhere at that time, it wasn't the only source. There was also a trilogy of live-action movies, so if you're making an ode to the Turtles from that time, why not include a reference to those films? That's why I also nominate Kano, the pizza delivery boy who was jumped by a gang of thugs inside a mall in the second movie. Admittedly, he wouldn't be the most exciting pick, but he doesn't have any haters, and he is a skilled martial artist, so he would fit in fighting alongside the Turtles again. I thought those two were pretty good choices, but then something hit me. I got a little spark, and then I realized there's one character that's the best possible choice out of all the others, best possible pick for this game. I think they should put Daniel LaRusso from The Karate Kid in the game. These two franchises are natural crossovers. In fact, they kind of have crossed over before. I was in Midtown Comics, again, and I saw a 2-pack of, I think, Donatello and Johnny Lawrence, who I personally would much rather see in the game because, did you catch the end of Cobra Kai? Come on now. Johnny was kicking ass like we were back in 1983. But yeah, I do know that if there was a crossover, it would have to be Daniel that's playable. I know, I hear some of you Easter peeps chirping, they can't do that, that's a whole legal issue, it's a different franchise. Not so! Look at the Karate Kid game they just made. A beat-em-up in the same exact art style as Shredder's Revenge? I smell a ripoff going on here. If I were Nickelodeon, I'd look at the guys who made the Karate Kid beat-em-up, and I would threaten to take their asses to court. That is, unless they play ball. Tell them, hey, how about you hand over your sprites for the game you ripped off, and we make all this go away. In fact, if I were the film studio that owned the franchise, I'd want this to happen. I'd want it done quick. Putting Daniel in the game would be great promotion for the new Karate Kid movie coming up. Everybody wins, even the consumer. So those are the characters that I think could make Shredder's Revenge a complete experience. And remember, the last editions were kind of meh, so this isn't an open invite just to add whatever Turtles adjacent characters they can think of and charge us for it. I don't want to see any Pixies from Season 1, no Venus de Milo, no Lord Dregs or whatever the fuck the villain that replaced Shredder is called, just characters that the fanbase would be super excited to see. Like I said, 12 is the perfect number since they already went past 10, but if they want to go all out and bump it up to 15 by adding Alopex, Kano, Daniel, and Johnny Lawrence, hey, I'm not complaining. Now, that's not at all realistic because the developers have moved on to make a new beat 'em up, one starring these superheroes of Marvel Comics. So far, we know we're getting 15 characters in that one. No word if it's going to be the final number or if 15 is going to be the total spanning across all of Marvel Cosmic Invasion's DLC. But if they're telling us now that 15 includes everybody, then I commend them with being upfront about it. Only 7 characters have been identified so far, but we are getting some great choices. We're getting Storm, Venom, even though I don't love Black Venom, I think he looks better in dark blue, but whatever, can't complain. It is pretty exciting anticipating who else will join in. Personally, I'd love to see Deadpool, Doctor Strange, Mantis, Silver Surfer. As much as I'd like to see Blade or Mysterio be playable, I don't see that happening, but hey, they confirmed characters that are even more obscure than them, so, who knows. Maybe they'll even let the Hulk in there to start kicking ass, because the movies sure as hell won't do it. If the movies allow us to see a muscular guy getting angry, it's only a matter of time before an army of incels rises up and demands pussy from their local barista. But no matter who they add, just think of the fans, and please, please don't release a physical version until the game is complete. Most of us don't have the money anymore in these uncertain economic times to buy the same game multiple times, so it's a bad idea. Then again, it seems like we don't get to own physical games anymore, only key cards to those games, so I don't know. I guess try to sell me as many empty cartridges as you want. So those are my picks. If you're a Turtles fan, let me know what you think of them. Would these characters excite you? Do you think they're the lamest picks yet? Do you think I'm an idiot for not picking Ryu of Street Fighter because he's the most crossed over character of all time, and it's about time he crossed paths with the Turtles, although he actually did in the comic books, but we'll be about that. But anyway, my comment section could be a place where consensus forms. So anyway, thank you for watching, and if you see the Shredder, you Turtle boys, don't cut him no slack.